And hello, 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 hello. Hello out there in Blog Talk Radio land here in the glorious United States of America and across the globe. Hello to all of my listeners over there in Italy and France and Ireland and the Netherlands and the Ukraine and in the Caribbean islands, and to all of you who are within the sound of my voice. It's another glorious day, my tea sippers, honey. And I know you got all of your crumpets together because, darlings, it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meach. What's going on, babies? Thank you for your time and your love and your patience with me. You guys know we have not been on the air this month, and this is my birthday season. However, we've been working on some new things. I've been working on my new book that's about to come out. In fact, it'll be out this week, Thursday or Friday. So we'll talk about that in just a little moment. Revelations, affirmations, and confirmations. So, you know, I'm thankful that you're here. Again, we are in birthday season. This is my birthday month. Y'all know I celebrate from February 28th until April 2nd. My birthday is March 4th. Ha-ha. I am 48 years young and loving every moment of it, although I'm claiming 50 because all of my friends are turning 50 this year. So I'm claiming 50 right along with them, okay? So, having said all that, I want to get right into today's show. This is a special edition show that we're working on today. You know, we're here on Monday and as opposed to our regular day on Wednesday because my guest, honey, is letting us know what's going on. Due to his scheduling and things, we want to make sure that we had the time to bring him in to talk about a much-needed subject that we have on the table that is not discussed within our community. He's a friend of the show. He's been here before, and many of you may know him affectionately. I call him the Patriach of the KNOWLES Dynasty, darling. Okay, y'all may know him just only as Beyonce's father or only as Solange's father, but he's also a record label owner. He's an entrepreneur. He's an author. He's a doctor even. He has his Ph.D. in economics and things, and he's going to be joining us right now. We're going to be talking with Mr. Mathew Knowles, as he's returning to the table to be dishing tea about his new book, Racism from the Eyes of a Child. Mr. Knowles will be addressing very candidly the issues of internalized racism and how it has shaped the African-American culture across the board in all areas of our lives. So, honey, this is going to be a very, 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 very hot pot of tea. So if you don't have crumpets, baby, I'm going to be serving crumpets right along with it. So without any further ado, let's welcome back to the show. This is Mr. Mathew Knowles with one T. Mr. Knowles.
Demetrius, how you doing, brother?
I am everything, and everything is me. Thank you for wanting to come back with us. And to
I had so much fun. I had so much
with us.
I had so much fun last time. First, I want to wish you a happy birthday and your birthday celebration. I have to learn to have a whole month for my birthday. That's smart. I like that. And then secondly, I want to congratulate you on your new book.
Thank you. I appreciate that greatly. I've been doing this month thing since I was 16, and it happened out of vanity and necessity because when back home in Detroit, there was a whole big thing about having the big poster board for birthday cards, right? And we went around the school and had everybody sign the cards and teachers putting money on it and things of that nature. And I said, okay, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to get me one. It's going to be fabulous. Well, that night it snowed, and it snowed drastically, and we could not go to school on my birthday.
Okay.
Then, throughout the day of my birthday, the snow melted, and we went to school the next day. That was 1986. I would never forget it as long as I stay black and on this side of the planet. And so since then, I go around with my little poster board, and everybody's like, oh, it's your birthday. I said, no, it was yesterday. And I was like, oh, well, here you go. So I didn't get a lot of money like I thought I was going to get. They put 16 cents on, because I was 16 years old, so they put 16 cents, a dime, a penny, and a nickel, and that kind of thing, and it just dampened me. So ever since then, I have just taken the whole entire month. Yep.
So I have an idea on that, Demetrius. I have an idea. Have you ever heard Destiny's Child on their first album, It's Your Birthday?
Yes, yes.
You should play that. That's your theme song.
You know what? And I didn't even, because I will. You know what? There we go. There we go. Okay.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do. That's what I do. It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
How about that?
You don't have to do nothing.
See there, and okay, and I live those lyrics. Okay, so
you don't have to do nothing. It's your birthday. You don't have to do nothing.
See there, and I take that for the entire month. I let nobody tell me how to spend my money or anything like that, because the other 11 months I'm such a benevolent person, to where I consider this to be like a tithe. If I can have 1 month out of the year that's mine, it's my birthday month, because everybody gets everything every other day, every other month. So,
right.
Yeah, so this is my month, So that's enough about me, honey. Thank you for the accolades. And this is all about you. And, first, and since we're giving congratulatory, since you were last on, honey, became a grandfather again. Beyonce had the twins. And, there's so many different things that have gone on in your life and carrying on. And I just want to say thank you for being as transparent as you have been, allowing us, the public to in on what you deem for us to be in on. And, a lot of us feel as though we're celebrating all of the successes that the Knowles have accomplished, both Beyonce and Solange, because her Solange's album is just T&A. Okay, and just raking and carrying on. Blush, your new group, honey, is doing fabulous things and all of that. So, congratulations to you as well.
Well, thank you, Demetrius. We could, as a family, we could never do it without all the support we get from people like you, and especially your audience. The LGBTQ community has been so supportive always.
Okay, and hey, we know our divas. Okay, and with that being said, in knowing our divas and sticking with our divas, part of understanding that is to understand their relationships with the people in their lives and those who built them, and you being such a powerhouse. And
Demetrius,
part
do we
of that,
do we have Demetrius? Do we have? I keep hearing somebody else on the line. Is that on your side or my side? Do you hear that?
It might be. Wait a minute. I think I've opened up somebody's mic. Oh, I did. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I've been in the industry. Hey, I've been in the industry.
Okay, wait a minute.
I've been in the industry a long time, Demetrius.
I had somebody's mic hot and didn't know it. Okay, there we go. When we're looking at those who have shaped our divas and carried on, and who have been instrumental in that, we rally around them as well. And in this particular case, you have been in the forefront of all of that. And so we wanted to make it our business to get to know you, the person, as well. And with this particular book, the little bit of what I've read up on it, because I don't have my copy of it yet. Okay.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll get you one.
Yes. You know why I have to have this book? Because in what I've read on it, and I've read a couple of snippets and pages from it already, this here is a conversation that we have shied away from as a people. Oftentimes, I know I've been a victim of what has been considered to be colorism in my own family. My grandfather was one who had 10 children. No, he had 12 children. He had 10 boys. And it was relayed to me, my mother told me when I was born that my grandfather did not want me in his house, because he said, don't nothing that light come out of nothing that dark, because my mother's a dark-skinned woman. Mm-hmm. And for years, it was always said I was never my father's child and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. But 3 weeks later, I'm born March 4th. My cousin is born March 26th. Okay, 3 weeks and a day later, my aunt, who is the exact same shade of darkness as my mother, had my cousin. And my cousin, we call him white boy to this day. That's how light he is. He looks like a white boy with a tan right now. Okay, and when he was born, Tony could do no wrong. That boy was just a hellion. And not only did he have the light skin, but he had the cat eyes, those green eyes. Oh, honey, it was just the creation of whatever this is that we consider to be colorism within the community. And that's how it affected my family and me personally. You writing this book, why did you feel the need to write this book in this time, and especially in this culture that we're in today?
Well, good question. A number of things. One is I first wanted to also do research on my family. The first part of the book is talking about research. I went all the way back, Demetrius, to my great-great-grandfather. And part of the reason why, if we don't know our history, part of racism is to erase our history. And if we don't know our history, then that means we don't have knowledge. And if we don't have knowledge, we don't have power. I mean, think about our current president, what he's tried to do to Obama. He's tried to erase all of his history. That's part of racism.
That's right.
Erase your history.
That's right.
So, it took me a year. I have to say, part of the timing is luck. I had no idea that we would have a new president. This first year would do all the things he's done that clearly shows what his views of racism when he talks about Africa and Haiti and call it a shithole. That tells what he feels about black people around the world. So the timing of it is perfect because we're living in a day that we are, think about 2 years ago we were talking about all the black people, men and women, that have been killed by our police. I mean, racism is alive and well. Colorism is upon us. And let me just be clear. I believe all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of the shade or hue of blackness, are all beautiful. That's not my intent, is to make anybody feel embarrassed or shamed because of the color of their skin. But what I'm saying is that colorism is something that we talk about, is something that was imposed on us during slavery. It wasn't our option. But it's still, colorism is related and has always been related to money, power, and control.
I like that part right there when you say, I want to make it clear that all hues amongst the diaspora, are beautiful. And that this is not to criticize or to demean or anything about one's beauty, but I'm loving that this is to bring awareness to that.
Exactly.
This is an issue that we have been dealing with, that we have swept up under the rug, and it goes for me. It was more than just a light skin, dark skin thing, because then we had nappy hair, good hair, brown eyes versus light eyes, and many of those particular instances, coming into doing your research and putting the book together, what would you say would be some of the jewels of knowledge that you were able to say, have an aha moment, and like, damn, I didn't realize that, or wow, I thought I was above that, or thought that this didn't affect me this way. What were some of those jewels that touched you while writing this book?
As we, I say we because in the research stage, we did a lot of research in Montgomery, Alabama, which is the capital city of Alabama, at the library there. Some of my aha moments were just on my family. knowing that my grandfather owned 300 acres of land. There's a chapter that says they call him Mr. Hogue. I had never heard a white man call a black man Mr. The first time was my grandfather. He was also a regional moonshine guy, manufacturer. But the aha moment was when I started looking at all of my family. My family were mainly entrepreneurs, educators, or they were in politics, and they were highly successful. The aha moment was when I look at our DNA of our family, which my first book was DNA of Achievers. When I look at our DNA, right? When I look at our family DNA and lineage, it was very clear to me that we are extremely successful, hardworking, a lot of pride people, which explains my kids' success. Because that's a part of our DNA. That was one thing. The second thing was an aha moment. I didn't know that my grandmother, Hester Hogue, Hester Moore was her maiden name, had a set of twins, Sidney and Gidney Moore, which explains, again, through DNA, why now Beyonce has twins.
Okay.
Those were some of my family aha moments. And then some of my personal ones were just going back and going through all those years of being the first black, or one of the first blacks, and in junior high and high school, going to a Catholic elementary school, one of the first blacks at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and all the times I've been electric prodded, I've been hit, spit on, called every word under the sun, just all of that. That's why I named the book Racism from the Eyes of a Child, because in one eye, the cover of the book is showing a civil rights movement with a white state trooper holding a billy club. And then the other eye that's not seen is racism that I see today.
Okay.
That's how I shaped the title of it, Racism from the Eyes of the Child. And the first story I tell is about when I was 5 years old. My mother used to go down in the country to Marion, Alabama, to my grandmother. My brother would all go. And the short story is, one night my mother got in an argument with my grandmother. We got on she decided to take her two kids. I'm 5 years old. My brother is 14. We're walking a dark highway, no light but the moon, and in the distance we saw these cars and we heard these horns. And they got closer and closer and closer until my mother got me and my brother, and we got in the woods on the side of the road, and she got on top of me and started praying. Told my brother if anything happened, to take me and him and run under that barbed wire fence, and y'all is running that pastor as fast as y'all can. Finally, the cars passed by, and then a lot of flags were on the street, on the road. And my mother, I picked them up. She spanked my hand. I didn't realize that I had experienced a Ku Klux Klan rally. And that was the first moment of racism for me, from the eyes of a child at 5 years old. The fear that I had, not knowing why I was frightened, why my mother was so frightened that she would give her life and get on top of her kid and tell us to run if we had to.
Wow. Okay, I'm perklimped a little bit. Those stories, as prevalent as they were, they're still hard to take. They're still hard to come by and hard to digest because, this is still in a lifetime here. I'm here to actually experience this. This is firsthand knowledge. This is not a history book that we're reading this from or a reenactment that we see in the movie. This actually happened.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a little perklimped with that. But let me go here because in coming up in the South, and see, I'm new to the South. I'm down here. I've been here in Atlanta now for 11 years. And coming from the city to the country, it was a bit of a shell shock for me. I thought I always fantasized about being a country boy, and and when I got here, I'm so proud of my northern roots. I don't know what to do, because of the time and those who are native to Atlanta and to the South or whatever. There's a distinct difference in the way how they talk, how they carry themselves, how they interact with the mainstream culture and carrying on. And especially with the older generation, there's such a grave difference. Coming from the South, how is it that those experiences shaped you, and yet you were able to overcome to be the man that you are today, to shape your daughters, and to let them become the women that they are today?
Well, another good question. Now, Gaston is only an hour and a half from Atlanta, and I'm used to make that drive pretty frequently, and it's amazing. You consider Atlanta the country. Can you imagine going to a little small town with 25,000 people in Alabama and having George Wallace as your governor, who believed in segregation now, segregation forever? His thing was segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. That was his slogan. And how did it shape me? It shaped me because when you're one of the first, my first day at Litchfield Junior High School, I'll never forget it. I can see it. Mr. Jones was a really nice white man teacher. All of these white kids, they experiencing having a black person in their class for the first time in their lives. So just imagine that, first of all. And imagine me walking in that class, and it's nothing but white people. I'm the only black kid in that class. And we had a reading exercise, and I stood up. Everybody had to read a paragraph, and I made a mistake on a word. And those kids started laughing and throwing spitballs, all the things kids do. And it really crushed me that first day. But let me tell you what it made me do. It made me, Demetrius, a much better reader, because I said, that'll never happen again. You'll never laugh at me. I'm going to be prepared every time I read, and I'm going to work on it. So I use that one example of many examples that happened to me in my childhood that made me say, I'm going to be prepared. That'll never happen. And when you put that together with my family lineage and heritage, it made me, when you look at my corporate career, and I'm grateful for all of this, but being the number one sales rep in the world, let me say that again, in the world, in Xerox Medical Systems, one of two black salespeople, being one of the first blacks to sell MRI and CT scanners in America, being one of the first blacks to be a neurosurgical specialist with Johnson & Johnson in America. So those years of races growing up in Alabama prepared me for those days, because I can intellectually understand white people.
Okay, dig that. Okay. Dig that. Okay, let's cut to the chase of all that, because it begs this question. Because oftentimes, I'm a 70s baby, so I know it as a child. Because I knew how to speak correctly, I knew how to get all of my consonants together at the end of a sentence. The T's made a T sound, the S's had S's, the GH sound like an F, okay, or whatever that was. The whole idea of wanting to be educated and pushing yourself for educational endeavors, and yet the thought or the threat of becoming white, or you just want to be white, or you acting white, or, all of that. Did that ever plague you when you were coming up, or was the art of education expected because the times were different and we as black folks wanted to excel so that we could show our counterparts that, we were on the same level. We come with the same on the same playing field.
Yeah, for me, education was expected. My aunt had 6 kids. They all went to college. On my father's side, not as many. They were entrepreneurs, so that was different. But let me share with you. And so that was expected education. Oftentimes we as black folks, we are playing checkers. We're playing checkers when our counterparts are playing chess.
How about
Think
that?
about that.
I got that.
We're playing checkers when they're playing chess. And we get emotional and make decisions when they're not emotional. And they can be with somebody they don't like, but when in business, if they're making the money, I used to say at Xerox, I used to drive a Jaguar before anybody had a Jaguar. I used to go to work with blue jeans way before people went to work. And people would say, how can you dress like that? I said, because I realized whenever I'm the number 2 sales rep, they're going to fire me.
Okay. Right. Right.
So for me growing up, Demetrius, it was a love-hate thing. One of the things that troubled me is that I went through all that, being the first at those in junior high and in high school, and then by my senior year, the word Oreo had developed, and so then I became instead of a martyr, I became an Oreo. So I had a very unhappy childhood because I couldn't. Literally, if I went to any of the black events in high school on the black side of town, the couple of times I did try, and I talk about this in the book. I was threatened to get beat up. Once I had to run for my life, and then I didn't get invited to the white events. So I kind of had a lonely childhood.
Wow. Okay, so now in that childhood, and then growing up to become the adolescent, the young man, I read that through understanding this whole idea of colorism, it was told to you better not bring no nappy-headed black girls to this house and that kind of thing, and that you began to date light-skinned women, light-skinned black women, or what we used to call high yellow, light, bright, almost white. Okay, or you were able to date white women. How did those experiences, or did that time in your life shape you as a man? And then dealing with the sisters, and then dealing with being an educated man, and how it perpetuated the whole Oreo stereotype that you were inoculated with.
Well, I as a kid, I internalized when my mother said, don't bring no black-headed nappy head home. I really internalized that. And my mother said that a lot. So a lot of wonderful, great things. A lot of great, wonderful things she did, but that was not one of them. And that's because she had internalized it from her parents. And this whole thing comes back to slavery when, again, that's why I say colorism was imposed on us, not an option. I mean, none of those black women in slavery that were slaves asked to be raped. None of them asked for that.
Right.
And so that's where it started from. Let's be real. It started from some slavery. And so, I internalized that. What helped me, Demetrius, is in 81, 82, I was at Xerox Medical System. I had this tremendous anxiety attack. And I literally had to go to the doctor, had a 24-hour EKG, and thought maybe a heart attack or something. I went back to my doctor. He says, Mr. Knowles, there's nothing wrong with you physically. It's something wrong with you mentally. And I suggest that you go to a therapist. The stress of your new job, I had a new job, a new house, new wife. He said the stress of all that, you need to go to a therapist. And so that's when I began therapy, and off and on, and all of my life, off and on, I've been in therapy. I talk about this in my book that I've spent, around $1 million in my life in therapy. And I'm glad I did, because had I not, Demetrius, I'd be dead now. I'm real clear on that. And at one point, there was a defining moment in my therapy sessions where it was very, very clear. We went through this mental kind of process with your eyes closed and music and seeing, going back to your childhood, and it dawned. I mean, it happened like I was there, that this whole racism and the trauma of racism, being a kid and seeing older people beat, and that trauma of all of that, and experiencing it myself, and because I had internalized a lot of things that happened to me as a kid, and it made me in some ways not feel confident or as valued as my white counterparts. Therapy saved my life, and that's why I talk about therapy in the book. That a lot of us, we look at therapy as a weakness versus a strength. And, smart people look at therapy as a smart thing to do. Weak people look at therapy as something that makes you weak, shows that you're weak.
Yeah, like you can't cope, you can't handle the stress, and now see, that ties into this, because oftentimes when we talk about therapy and dealing with the pressures and the vicissitudes of life, we end up wanting to put God and Jesus and everything on it, but yet we don't want to do the work required. We're still waiting on Jesus to do everything, but nobody is willing to do their part in the miracle of healing and change and looking for a better future, or taking the step to go in the opposite direction for change. In all of that, how has your spirituality and your belief system encouraged you to take the steps, and for you to do your work, as Yana Van Zant would say, do your work?
Well, I agree totally with you 100%. Jesus, Messiah, whatever name that one use, I believe in spirituality. I don't tag it with a religious affiliation. I totally believe that you can't sit back and wait for that miracle to happen without work. And to me, again, spirituality is just doing the right thing. I can't make it complicated. I think sometimes we make stuff way too complicated. It just means doing the right thing, treating people right. When you do something wrong, there's an inner gut self that says, hey, that's not right, or this is not safe. And you got to learn to listen to that.
Right,
like I
exactly.
said, we make stuff so complicated sometimes when it's so simple. And that's where I am. I believe in this thing I call social courage. Social courage. We have to develop and express more social courage. Let me give you an example of social courage. Those kids down in Florida, that at that school that the kid went and shot up a bunch of folks.
Yeah.
Those kids are expressing social courage, where they're speaking out against what's wrong. They told the senator and congressman, hey, if you don't change, if you don't vote for the all these guns and stuff, the NRA, we're gonna ensure you don't win. See, social courage is when we're at our workplace or at home or wherever we are, and somebody is making a racist comment or a sexist comment or a negative, homophobia comment. Like, say something. Don't just sit there and don't say something. Say something. Say, hey, I'm not down for that. What you just said, I don't feel that way. And I would prefer if you didn't say that around me, because I don't feel that way. See, we don't have the social courage to do that.
Exactly. Or to stand up to or even just to say that's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, don't a simple why you do that. You know, that's not necessary. You know, and this is
Exactly.
not to sit down there and say folks can't say, you know, because that goes into a whole nother conversation. Well, you can't tell me what I'm not telling you what to say. I just said why, because that
Exactly.
wasn't nice. Okay,
Right.
all the rest of that is what you done made up in your head. I just said that wasn't nice. You know,
And the
this, that,
more
the
we
other,
do that,
and
Demetrius, the more we do that, the more people will begin to think before they open their mouth.
hmm Now, in this, the whole idea of colorism. Now, let me bring it fast forward just a little bit, because as a man, and I shared my story at the beginning of this with how my grandfather instilled that in his boys, okay, about bringing home dark-skinned women and carrying on. And any time that they did, there was a problem. You know, it was always something. And I didn't understand was my grandfather was maybe a shade or two lighter than my mother because he was a dark-skinned man himself. So I'm wondering, in your research of understanding colorism, was it about self-shame that a lot of dark people were casting these kinds of stones on negative things or setting up this precedent because of them not being able to achieve anything and with the idea of them seeking better or seeking because the children were lighter that they may be treated better than what they were as some form of showing love for them, or was it just all just the taintedness that we've endured from the slavery years?
It's all of the above, and I love how you said it, how it was imposed upon you, being of a darker complexion. I mean, well, a lot of times, especially I'm 66 years old, so my era in the South, people were bleaching their skin, they were straightening their hair, doing everything that they could. Not quite understanding. This wasn't conscious, some of it. A lot of what we do is subconscious. It's been put into our belief system by other people, our parents, society. And so we internalize all this stuff from what we see and what we hear. I mean, how can you not see commercials, and if they always have a certain looking black person in it, it'll make a child think, well, something's wrong with me. I mean, in my book, I talk about this study that was done in the 60s where there was this little black boy. He was about 6-7 years old. He was given these 3 dolls, and he was asked, what is beautiful to you? Which one do you like the most?
What is
and he picked the white doll. Because that's what we see. In commercials, that's what we see. We hear it. And so how can we not internalize it unless we understand it? It took me going to therapy to de-internalize what had happened to me in my childhood. And let me give you an example. Demetrius, one of the things that literally I go to therapy for is to go to the dentist. Now you ask, why would a 66-year-old man have to go to therapy to go to the dentist? I am frightened to death to go to the dentist. And it's because when I was 13 years old and I was sitting in the colored section, the colored waiting room, and that white dentist, we had a 3 o'clock appointment. Well, he waited on all the white people first. So if he ran late, by the time he got to the colored people, he was ready to get home to dinner at 6 o'clock.
Right.
So he didn't care. They just, So here I am, my first time to the dentist, and I'm getting a tooth pulled. So you can imagine how frightful I was. He took me. My mother wanted to go in the room. The nurse wouldn't let her. They took me into the room. Here I am, a kid, sitting in there for the first time in that chair. This is like in the 60s. I'm listening to that sound, and I'm looking at that stainless steel, seeing all those needles, and I had to sit there for almost an hour by myself, looking at those needles, hearing that sound, and I'm like scared to death. And that's when I realized I had my really first anxiety attack. And that's why it's so fearful. I'm so frightful to go to the dentist. That's how when we internalize something, that's the trauma that when I speak about in racism, that's an example of it.
Interesting, and I'm right there with you. Let me play a little. I don't want to say devil's advocate, but let me throw this out there as something to consider, because now, everybody is very analytical with the success of the movie Black Panther. And, we're running the gambit and carrying on. We're in an era again. Remember back in the 70s and stuff where we went through that era that dark skin was in and the dark black man was in. And then in the 80s there was the light bright and almost white was in. And now we're back to the era because of Black Panther to where dark skin is in again.
Yep, you're right.
Okay.
You're
okay.
right. I mean, I went to the Black Panther, and it was the reverse of colorism. I mean, everybody in there, although there was a couple of the female warriors I didn't quite understand, but 99% of everybody in there was of a dark hue of blackness. And you're right, Hollywood. And again, I told you, I went to school with white folks. I know how they think on an intellectual basis. And you're right, they see money, they see green, a lot of them, and they would do whatever they have to do, say whatever they have to do to make you feel good, because they're real good at making you feel good, and they'll see green. So I'm not necessarily sure that it'll be about the darkness of the skin, although I think you'll see more of that. But I think what will be the win out of Black Panther is the success it had as a black movie and as a whole, and how other black movies now will have a greater opportunity to get greenlit because of the success of Black Panther.
True that. Now, in that, and that there is what we're hoping for coming down the line. Those of us, I'm in school for screenwriting and carrying on and looking to take my career to another level and all of that kind of jazz. But dealing with the whole idea of colorism, and I liked how you say eroticized rage. Good God Almighty! When I read that, I said, "Oh my God, this is fabulous."
You had never heard that word before, had you?
God! Oh my God!
I know you're gonna take that word and run, aren't you, Demetrius? You're gonna take that word, those words and run.
Listen. I'm Usain Bolt. Okay. I'm there. I said eroticized rage. Break that down for me, because that's just too delicious to sit on it. Get it.
Too delicious to sit on. I like that. So, eroticized rage, the bottom line is that back in the 60s, again, and a lot of black men, the way we expressed our anger and the way we expressed our rage towards white people because of all the racism and all of the segregation that was going on, is we dated white women. And we did that, again, subconsciously, all the stuff we internalized, we felt as though we could gain back our power. We could do dating and have a relationship with white women. And that's what eroticized rage is gaining back that power that you've lost, or that you thought you've lost.
Wow. Now,
and so when you see a lot of black men, I won't say all, but when you see a lot of black men, subconsciously they don't realize, and they with that white woman, that a lot of it has to do with the rage that they have and a loss of power that they feel.
You know what? Because see, now I'm gonna get very carnal, so forgive me. I'm gonna try to be cute and clean. I don't want to disrespect you.
Demetrius, you ain't got to do that with me. You know how we talk.
Okay. Let's be real. Okay.
I didn't know what I could say on your show, so I'm trying to keep it clean.
Listen, because it always comes down to. I have a lot of friends who always say, you know, they're not into white folks or whatever because they feel like it's dating or having sex with the enemy. But yet at the same time, black has become this eroticized fantasy, and it boils down to how good the sex is and this, that, and the other. And for you to term eroticized rage and to define that the way that you did, to say that this is a means of regaining that power, the type of sex that is had between between interracial couples always seems to be that animalistic kind of thing, and it seems like I love that eroticized rage, and it seems like through all of the sex and. Okay, I'm trying to be clean. I can't be clean. Do this damn fucking and carry it home.
There you go. There you go.
Okay? Because it's in the belly. I'm trying to be cute, but I can't. All of this, the way how it is done, you know, it just seems as I'm stuttering because it is all making sense. I think I'm having an aha moment here with that because my friend Haji always says that, you know, that seems to be the goal, or everybody claims as though they want black empowerment, but all they really want is the fact to say that they can sleep with a white woman. And once they get that, it just seems as though they lose the fight or whatever the case is. And you coining this eroticized rage just seems to just put all of that into perspective, because if the goal here is to reclaim my power instead of my time, thanks, Auntie Maxine. If it is to reclaim my power, okay, then the goal would be that, and I could sit down there and show you my prowess and show you I'm the Mandingo and this, that, and the other. I could sit down there and then at the same time feed into the fetish, because now you done became the flavor of the month because you could dick a bitch down, okay? And then it becomes, well, once you go black, you never go back. And then it perpetuates all of that we have in society that seems to be the hindrance of the black man's success.
You said it very well. You did the full 180 on it. You did it. Eroticized rage is exactly that. I'll add one other word that I talk about in the book, and it's called chaotic hurt. Because some of this eroticized rage ends up in chaotic hurt, where our whole life is in chaos because of that, because we decided to have that affair or to date that white woman, or whatever it is in life.
Okay, now see that's real good. Chaotic hurt during your time.
See, people don't know I'm this smart. You know that, right? I sit back and laugh sometimes because they believe all that BS that Wendy Williams says. By the way, I'm on her show this Friday. It'll air. It's going to be interesting, that interview. But
okay, okay, right, okay. This is the thing, because intelligence is an aphrodisiac for me. So I'm sitting up here, I'm living. Okay.
Same here.
Here's the thing for me. What was it? You said you went to therapy and things, but what were some of the clouds or the hindrances or the rituals or the programming that you had to break in order for you to realize, let me change this behavior? Because you were able to last in your marriage with Tina for quite some time. But in the beginning, I read that you were saying that, well, when I first met her, I met her because she was light skinned and I thought she was white. And then throughout the marriage, what was it that had you to change your train of thinking and your thought to where the marriage became the success that it was until you guys said, okay, we can't do this anymore?
Yeah, well, we were married 34, 30. Most of my life, I was married to Tina, and I'm fortunate and blessed and so grateful. I'm married to a beautiful dark-skinned black woman. Her name is Gina, so I would have a Tina and a Gina.
We're not gonna go there. Don't do that.
That's the next interview.
We're not gonna do that. That's a whole other story. Okay.
Yeah, that's the next interview. So a lot of things that this is what, and I'm very transparent in this book. That's why people need to get it. I talk about my vulnerability, and one of the things my therapist said to me once, she said, "You know what? You would never." She says the bad side is that you party too much, you drink too much, you chase women too much. The good side is that you would have never been as successful had you not had this crazy personality trait that you have where you're obsessive with everything. It's been your demise and your success. And what I had to learn is how to balance that. The key word is balance.
Oh, now ain't that the T right there? I say that, I look at my own parents, and I told that to my dad. I said, the very thing that you liked about Mama that drew you to her was the very thing that you couldn't stand that broke y'all up.
Right.
It was. My mother is a tall woman. She's 6 feet tall, okay?
My mother's 5'11".
My mother is, yeah. And, a dark-skinned woman who was thoroughly educated. My mother was a businesswoman. She was real good with books and numbers and carrying on. And she was outspoken. She was a tomboy, so she knew how to handle herself around men. And she grew up with 4 brothers. Okay, so
yeah.
My father, being the man that he is, and very, I don't know if chauvinistic is the right word. I'm just going to, because that was a different time, and it's easy to say chauvinistic when men were just raised to believe that women were supposed to be subservient and not
and
submissive.
Be maids and housekeeping and all that stuff.
And all of that, domestics and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And my mother wasn't that. And that's what he loved about her because, in a lot of regards, my grandmother was the same way. She was a very strong woman. She was a light-skinned woman. She was, part Indian, part Caucasian, part black. So we had all of that. But at the same time of him trying to be a husband, that wasn't working with what his demonstration of what being a husband was supposed to be in. So what he loved about my mother is exactly what threw them away, because he became very abusive and this and the other and all of that, and to where the marriage dissolved because, as my mother told me, the only thing that we really had in common was sex. So other than that, everything else was just out the window, so they were playing. Okay?
Yeah.
Trying to
it
force
sometimes
something,
get to that point.
without,
It sometimes get to that point.
So in that, I want to challenge you with that same question, because coming through with what you came through and understanding and coming to terms with, okay, this was a factor in what we're seeing as colorism. This was a factor in what we could see as internalized racism, as you were able to put that into consciousness. Or maybe looking back 2020 in hindsight, what was it that you believe that you wait a minute, let me rephrase that. What would be the lessons that you think you would be able to tell another black man about dealing with his woman, dealing with, being in relationship and carrying on and understanding himself from all of the ills that we have in dealing with this subject?
Yeah. I think the number one thing is be very honest about how you feel. We hold back especially as men, on how we feel. And that sometimes when we internalize our feelings and emotions, it make us do very detrimental things, some stupid shit,
How about that?
And so that would be the number one thing, is to learn how to be open about your feelings with everyone, and don't internalize it. That's what gets us all in trouble, is when we internalize how we feeling.
Okay. Now, in being able to identify that, now you're a father with two light-skinned girls. How was it that you were able to raise them and to have them come out of the shadows of this colorism and thing that you knew, and then watch them develop into these women, into a world to where it was redefined? Because now the whole idea of colorism and racism and eroticized rage, I love that. Eroticized rage has now been redefined, in this particular climate, because the times has changed and the way how people look at racism has changed.
So I as a parent, for me, and I think this is for most parents who truly love their kids, like I love Solange and Beyonce. I've never seen color with them. I see these are the two people that I love more than anything in the world. So for me, I never saw color. But let me tell you what we did, because it wasn't just me as a parent. We were very inclusive with our kids. We have always, and I have always been very diverse in my friendships that I have, very diverse in my business dealings. We let the girls experience different cultures. Never were, had a negative opinion, but wanted to learn other cultures. For example, Beyonce, when she was a little kid, she used to sing, when she first started out, this song "Imagine" by John Lennon.
Yes.
And so, I will say this is one of the reasons, certainly not the only reason, but one of the reasons why Beyonce is such a great performer, is that I took her, I said, you're singing that song from your head and not your heart, because you don't understand it. Today, I'm going to let you understand it. And so what I did is I got in our car, let the windows down, a hot day in Houston. I didn't want her experiencing air conditioning. I wanted her to experience, for people that don't have air conditioning, how it feels to be hot in a summer day in Houston.
Right.
We went to the hood and just drove by and had some sodas and water, and we just went on somebody's porch. Big Mama was out there, babies running around with diapers, a hole in the doggone floor. We said, hey, we was just passing by, wanted to give you all this, and they were good people. They said, hey, sit down. So we sat and we talked to them. Then I went riding around, and we saw this white guy, homeless white man, and he was pushing a cart from the grocery store with everything he owned in the cart. And I said, Beyonce, let's go over there. So we talked to the man. I gave him a hug. Beyonce gave him a hug. And then she said, can I push your basket? And the man almost cried. He says, what a nice thing to do, little girl. And so she pushed the man's basket. And we pushed his basket to the next block, and then we went back to the car. Then I said, let's go to Hispanic neighborhood. We drove till we find the right neighborhood, and they were doing a thing when they have the birthday, when they hit the, what do you call it, when they hit the...
Oh, yeah, the piñata. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that, yeah. And so, everybody drinking beer and stuff, laughing. The Latino family are very, very close people, very knit. Grandma there, all the cousins, uncles, everybody. And we just came and said, hey, and they took us in. And from that day, it helped Beyonce shape what the world is like. And so when she sang that song, from that day forward, it had a different way that she made people feel when she sang it, because she was coming from her heart now. She could identify with all those cultures. And that's how we brought our kids up. I remember when there was a Jack and Jill organization that came one day and said, "Hey, we would like to offer membership to your kids," and they were like, "It's a big thing. This is a big thing." And I was like, "No, I don't want her to do that." And the reason why there was both Solange and Beyonce is because I didn't want them at that time. I understand Jack and Jill has now changed, but in that time, in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, this particular chapter, I didn't like the lack of inclusiveness of all black people, and I didn't want my kids to be part of something that wasn't inclusive to all black people, and I've always felt that way, my thing is that I give. I see some homeless person, I don't judge them, but just a couple of nights ago, this is a true story, Demetrius. I was walking down. We live downtown, and this brother was homeless, and I thought that he was going to immediately ask me for some money, so I decided, hey, I'm going to just say, hey, brother, here's $20. This brother said to me, Mr. Knowles, I want to pray for you first and tell you what a great man you are. I thank you for your money, but that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to thank you for being the man and helping people like you do. And that touched me. And sometimes for a moment I was judgmental that he wanted money, and he didn't want that. He wanted to just pray for me, tell me thank you.
Wow.
And so the net of all of that is sometimes we can be judgmental. I was guilty of it in that example.
Wow.
And
okay.
I tell you, the thing that I'm most proud of, Demetrius, is, and I'm curious to see if it happened with you. I've had 6 interviews where the person who interviewed me read the book and called me back for a second interview because there was a lot of wow moments. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. Don't know how it happened, but for some reason this book is touching people in a special way, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, you let me get my hands on this thing because I'm telling you, this eroticized rage have me sitting over here. I'm standing on my toes, and I'm not a ballet person. Okay. I can sit up here and do a pirouette, honey, on my toes. Okay, because that has me in. I'm like, ooh, that's the term right there.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I want to reference the whole Oreo cookie thing to this particular moment because as you're saying about raising your children and wanting them to understand the world and to be inclusive, with the climate that we live in today, particularly when we have a lot of the pro-black nationalist children, the Pan-African children, the you got to be woke and we want you woke children. As that movement was taking shape around about the same time that when Solange and Beyonce were children, and the resurgence of what they were trying to do with the Black Panther Party and educating black folks, did you find it a challenge to deal with our own because folks may have seen you to be not black enough or didn't want to, you're not on the battlefield to fight for the cause and you don't really understand struggle, or became the success and turned your back on the brotherhood and on all that a lot of people want to push on you because basically they really want you to give them a hand out instead of a hand up?
Yeah, well, I've always had this belief that I will turn my back on a fool every day.
Okay, I like that.
I will turn my back. Yes, I will turn my back on a fool. You act a fool, I will turn my back on you. You don't do your research and just make a comment, I'll turn my back on you. You come with emotionalism versus having facts and being, intellectual about it and being a professional about it, I'll turn my back on you. You're not trying to help yourself and you want a handout, and you're not trying to be helpful, and once you get the knowledge of and hear the tools that you can be successful, then yeah, I'll turn my back on you. And you know, homelessness, a lot of that is mental illness, so that's different. That's different.
Exactly.
I'll help someone, but you know, I'm not going to continuously help you if you have the ability to work, because there's many ways of making money. So in my lifetime, and even back then, you know, my mother was a very strong woman. You know, she grew up in a little town, Marion, Alabama, and this little small town had 2,000 people that lived in it. 40% black, so that we'll do the math. You know, we're talking about 800 people, 900 people, something like that. And isn't it odd that out of that little town, these are the people that came out of it: T.D. Jakes, Coretta Scott King, Jean Young, the wife of Andrew Young.
Andrew, yeah,
a brother named Oscar Underwood, who is my second cousin, who was teacher of the year in all the state of Indiana, first black, took a black high school that was the worst in the state and made it the best in the state. Now I'm at 800 people. This is some people that came out of 800 people.
Wow. Okay.
And then my family, and look at our success, you know, out of this little town, Marion, Alabama. And the one thing that they had there is it was education. Education was very, very important. My mother went to high school with Coretta King. Coretta King went to Norman High School, and she was valedictorian of her class. I mean, these are smart people, man. Smart people. And that's my DNA. That's my family's DNA. And so that was important. That was important to me because, you know, we know Solange and Beyonce's DNA on the mother side, but you know, I wanted them and the kid and the world to know it ain't just that side that's made them successful. It's the totality of them having this kind of lineage and this type of heritage, and so that was one of the reasons that I wrote this book. And the other is because I'm a college professor. And as a college professor in academia, we have to write. This is not my first book, as I say. You know, the DNA of Achievers. I have a white paper, which is what we have to do, consider it an essay, but we call it in a collegiate white paper that was published by the University of West Virginia that talks about strategic partnerships at Walmart. My next book, you know, I'm almost ready. Been working on it nonstop. I'm not teaching this semester, so I'm really focusing on doing a lot of public speaking, doing a lot of that as a speaker. And so, you know, we have another book coming out that and then I'm working on the Destiny's Child, the untold story. Because nobody really knows the real story. They know the Jedi mind trick story, but not the real story.
I was just about to reference that. Okay, I was just about to reference that because here, when we're dealing with this colorism, when we're dealing with this eroticized rage, okay. And dealing with this in the music industry, because now here you are as the parent, and your babies are becoming business women, and your business partners, in addition to being these are your babies, okay? And in dealing with all of this and having to learn the lessons and learn how to navigate through this in a whole nother field. What was that like? Because I always, when I interview folks, and I got to get, B is coming, I got to get to her people because she's coming, so we can sit down and talk, because I need to talk to her. But, and my mama Patty, I'm putting that out there to the Omniverse, honey, they coming.
Yep.
In dealing with this, I always ask celebrities, they say this business is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and how do you maintain your integrity? But then we're dealing with the whole idea because Beyonce is a dancer. Solange is she's tall and statuesque, and and she moves, she sings, and this and the other. When we're dealing with this versus the video vixen, okay, and dealing with the whole misogyny that goes on in this industry and things of that nature, and how in this business, Mama Patty went through that, being the dark skinned chick versus say a Shaka Khan or even Diana Ross. And Diana Ross was dark skinned, but she was thin and this, that, and the third, and was able to talk the white man's English.
Diana Ross has never won a Grammy.
No, she hasn't.
No, she hasn't.
No, she hasn't. No.
So, and Patti LaBelle has never been played on top 40 radio.
Wow.
I know that for a fact.
Okay.
And, I talk about that in the book. I talk about these artists and how colorism plays into top 40. And for those that don't know what that is, that's pop. That's pop radio. These are white people. Let me say it that way. There's a colorism that exists in that. Because, today, when it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, today is about great songs, but imaging is critical today, especially for a woman. And then having, the entertainment ability. This is not about singing. It's about entertaining, which is different.
Entertaining, right.
Entertainment, singing is one of the components of entertainment, but, that's a whole nother interview we can have. But and then having a great team around you and having the passion first and foremost that artist has the passion to be the very best, because when you have passion, A, you never work a day in your life, and B, it coexists with work ethics. It coexists with work ethics. Passion, work ethic coexist. True. So you get me on a roll here. You'll have me preaching in a minute. But
come on, Doctor, the right reverend.
So Demetrius, unfortunately, man, I gotta go, man. You
got to go, and I really appreciate. I was trying to see if we had to do this before. You was getting on the plane the last time, but
I know. I'm moving and shaking. I talked an hour. I gave you a whole hour. I
love it. I swear
and
to
I
you,
thank
when we
you.
meet face to
And
face,
I thank you.
Oh,
so can I tell people? Can I tell people where to get this book?
Give it all to them. I want to get in contact with
I need all your listeners' support. I need their support because I want this book to be number one, like the DNA of Achievers. So I want everybody to go to Amazon because you can get the physical or the digital version. And if you want me to sign the book, then go to Mathew with one T, MathewKnowles.com. And I'll sign the book and ship it to you wherever you are in the world. So those are the two places where you can get the book. So, Demetrius, I hope we can have, after you read the book, I hope we can have another interview. I think once you read it, you're going to have some other ha-ha moments. Some of those moments. So thank you, and very grateful for what you do. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for
Mr. Knowles.
changing to a Monday. Hey, make sure we get back together, all right? Thank you.
All right, we'll do. Bye. Now, thank you so much. All right.
God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. Mathew Knowles. Child, we could do this forever. I told y'all intelligence turns me on. And this man here, we could have gone all day. But, unfortunately, we didn't. Okay. Because of his time and carrying on, and I knew, and I felt it right, but it's okay. Again, to get a copy of the book is available on Amazon.com, or you go to MathewKnowles.com, and you can get the book directly if you want to have him autograph it and send it to you. We're going to put that up on dishingtea.com for all of you to understand and to get to know. So, again, racism from the eyes of a child. Mr. Mathew, the Dr. Mathew Knowles, is right there and it's available now. So I don't know what else to say about that, child, but eroticized rage, child, that is working me. Eroticized rage. Damn, ain't that delicious? That is delicious. Oh, and I'm going to say this publicly because I know when he hears this, he going to call me. Haji, he just supported your theory, baby. He just supported your theory. And with this term, child, this is everything. So, let me meditate on that for a minute, honey, because, see, that's working me. That is really working me over. But in any event, my darlings, we want to thank you for your time, for coming on out and dishing some tea with us, okay? And I'm serving up the crumpets, baby. So with that, honey, tell a friend if you love me. Tell an enemy if you hate me, honey. But do know this, one way, shape, style, form of fashion, honey, everything that I'm doing will move forward, okay? So having said all that, join us next time. I believe I'm trying to come on the air this coming Wednesday at our regularly scheduled time so that we can get to going and get started and carrying on. We're doing some new things. If you don't see me on the air, honey, make sure you go to the Facebook page and catch me on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and carrying on, and we will get the discussion on and popping. We're going to dish the tea, baby, and I got plenty of crumpets to dish with it and to serve you, honey, okay? So with that being said, honey, I want you to take a good day, have a good day, be a good day, know a good day, do a good day. You understand? And make sure that everything that you're doing, honey, is to propel you forward into your authentic selves, okay? Having said all that, this discussion was Colorism and Eroticized Rage, an intimate discussion with the doctor and father. This is Mathew Knowles. I'm Demetrius Big Meach Taylor. You've been dishing tea with Big Meach, honey. I'll talk with you again soon. Ciao.